So good morning. And so having a strap and a block today. And then we will make our way over to our mat. And sitting in Sukhasana, the crossed legs. Using those arms alongside, lengthening up. Getting space between the vertebrae, space in the hip sockets. And then whatever shifting or squinging you want to do. And then landing up there on the sitting bones, hands on the knees, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders. Inhale and exhale, arriving in your body with your breath. Letting that breath get a little slower, a little deeper. Balancing the effort and the ease in the spine. Pressing against the wall behind you, lengthening up. And then also resting against that wall. And then let's reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Breathing the arms up, taking up lots of space. Breathing those arms down. Let's do that twice more. And then changing the cross of the legs. And we will come forward, pouring out and over, breathing across the back of the body. You can always do a little shifting and squinging here. And then coming up, unfurling that spine vertebrae by vertebrae, coming up on top of the sitting bones. Inhale and exhale, finding the long and spacious spine again, taking a few breaths here. And then let's extend those legs straight out in front. And if you have that belt, we can lasso the feet not, or if you don't have it yet, that's fine. So maybe a little lift using the arms behind, and then lassoing the feet, using that belt to sit up very straight, shoulder blades into the upper back, long through the top of the head. And then coming forward any amount, really lengthening through the backs of those legs along the floor. Feeling like your sitting bones are sliding back as those hip bones tip forward. And then coming up. And let's bend our right leg. And we'll cross the right foot over the left. Reaching long through that left leg along the floor. Long through the top of the head. Let's take a twist to the right. Inhale, lots of space. Exhale and twist. Run to the ribs and belly back. Back of the front of the right side back. Back of the left side forward. One more deep breath here. Coming back to the front, getting that belt, putting it around your right foot, or you could just hold the right leg. And let's extend that right leg straight in front of us, trying to lift up through the top of the head. So there might be a little angle back, but lengthening through the heel, lengthening through the top of the head. And pressing that left leg into the floor, reaching through that heel as well. And we'll breathe here. And then we will bring the right leg down and take that right knee out to the side. The foot can be on the inside of the left thigh, or maybe pulling it further back into the Janu Shirsasana position. And facing that left leg, pressing the right outer knee down as we take a little twisting to the left feeling. And then reaching with that right arm down the outside of the left leg, pressing into the left hand to help you get a little bit more of that twisting action. And then we will take the left hand to meet the right, coming forward over that left leg. Couple more breaths here. And then coming up, extending that right leg in front, reaching long through both legs, a short forward bend. And then coming up, and we will bend the left leg, crossing the left foot over the right. Keep reaching long through that right leg, long through the heel, long through the top of the head, and we will twist to the left. Inhale, lots of space. Exhale and twist. And belly and ribs on the front of the left going back, on the back of the right going forward. And then that breathing. Inhale, making space. Exhale, deepening into the space. And coming back to the center, getting your belt, putting it around the left foot, lengthen through the top of the head, lengthen through that left heel. Find a little balance point for yourself here. And then reaching long through the right leg as well, pressing that down into the floor. Shoulder blades down and into the upper back as we hold and breathe, sending that breath pouring out through the heels, through the top of the head. One more deep breath here. And then we'll bring that left leg down, move the belt, bring the left knee out to the side, either kind of straight out, or maybe pulling that leg more open into the GentleVinyasa position. And facing your right leg, reaching along through that right heel, twisting to the right. And then reaching with the left hand down the outside of the right leg, pushing into that right hand to help that twisting action a little more. Taking a few breaths here. And then bringing the right hand to meet the left, coming forward over that right leg. GentleVinyasa. One more deep breath here. And then coming up, retrieving your left leg. Reaching along through both heels, reaching along through the top of the head. Let's interlock the fingers, pulling the elbows wide. Press down to lengthen up, squeezing those upper arms toward the ears, reaching through the base of the hands. Flattening against the wall behind you, and then trying to breathe while we're doing all those things. And slowly release the hands, holding an invisible block between the palms. That block can be as big as you need it to be. And reaching those arms down. Oh, thank goodness. Bending the legs in. And let's make our way around to downward facing dog. More or less same position we were just in. And then walking the dog or anything else you want to do. And then finishing with whatever you're doing, finding the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Nothing moving but the breath. Inhaling up to the sitting bones. Exhale, pouring down the backs of the legs. And let's come down, sitting back in child's pose, making it a deliberate pose. Deep breath into the back of the body. And then sliding forward onto your stomach, elbows under the shoulders, reaching out through the fingertips, pulling yourself forward and up in the Sphinx. Press of that tailbone into the floor, opening up the front of the hip joints. We've done mostly flexion so far. And then reaching a little more through the toes, press the tailbone down a little more. Let's lengthen and bend that right leg. And then lengthening it out again. And then the left. Reach long through the left leg, bend the knee. Tailbone to the floor. Take a breath. And extending that left leg back out. And then we'll do both legs. Really bridge pose into the floor as you bend both legs. Upper back pulls a little toward the heels. And extending those legs. Let's do that once more. Reaching long, bending both legs. And extending those legs back. Maybe there's a little bit more lift in the elbows. And then coming down. Take a couple breaths with the forehead on the hands. Breathing into that lower back. And then we will peel ourselves back up to downward facing dog. Maybe a couple cat and cow ripples along the way. And then there we are. Downward facing dog once again. And let's go through the vinyasa, any version forward to the plank. Let's see, I'm going to do kneeling chaturanga for the undecided who want to come along with me. Into upward facing dog. And then downward facing dog. Inhaling up to those sitting bones, exhale, pouring down the backs of the legs. And then looking between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. And then coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Lifting up. Lengthen a little more, and we'll press the arms down, long through the top of the head. And let's circle those shoulders up the front, down the back. Inhale and exhale twice more. And then going the other direction, up the back, down the front. One more front to the back, interlocking those fingers behind. Lengthen up to lift the chest, to lift the chin. And pouring over, pressing out through the hands. And then let's bend the knees going into the skier, arching the back, pressing back through those hands in kind of an Utkatasana variation. And then really feel those upper arms squeezing toward each other and slowly release the hands and hold an invisible block in your hands behind you. And then releasing all of that, pouring forward. And concave back, folding over. Let's step back with the left leg into the low lunge, lengthening long through the top of the head, out that left heel. A little press down of the tailbone. You can stay here, or else reach the arms forward on a long diagonal, holding your invisible block between the hands. I'm breathing. And then reaching the arms wide and holding your invisible block behind you. And then bringing those hands down to the floor, continuing to downward facing dog, stepping back to a plank through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. And let's lift that right leg up at the same time, reaching the left heel to the floor. And a big inhale and exhale through to the lunge. So we have our right lunge again. And let's bring that left knee down, coming up in Jayasana. Inhale and exhale. So now we have lots of straight lines on that medium lunge. And now we got lots of curved lines here. And let's bring those arms down and take a side bend to the right, maybe the right hand on the block. And a big reach around with that left arm, straightening up the left leg, stepping forward into the concave back, folding over, taking a breath here, and coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pressing those arms down. And circle back with the shoulders to interlock the fingers. Lengthening up to lift the chest, to lift the chin. And then coming forward and over. And bend the knees into the skier again. So here we are trying to have an arched back, lifting the upper chest up. So it's a little different than when we get to our high lunge or our medium lunge, where we're trying to be flat. But nonetheless, let's slowly release the hands and hold that invisible block behind, making those triceps and back of the arms work. And releasing over. Concave back, folding over, stepping back with the right leg into the low lunge. Lengthening here. So you can always take a little longer with the fingertips on the floor if you want, or come back to here in between the front and the back. All right, here we go. Reaching forward on a long diagonal. Holding that invisible block between the hands. Belly and ribs up into the spine. And then reaching the arms behind and squeezing that invisible block behind you. And bringing the hands down. Stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. The other version I like is not doing that chaturanga too big, and then toe tuck under upward facing dog and downward facing dog. And let's lift the left leg up. As the left leg goes up, the right heel reaches down a little more. And through to the lunge. And we'll bring the right knee down, coming up in Jayasana. Curvy lined lunges now. And then bringing the arms down. Let's side bend to the left. Maybe a block for that left arm. And sink a little deeper into it. Makes the floor closer. And a big reach around with that right arm. Straightening the right leg. Stepping forward. Into the concave back. Folding over, taking a breath here, strong legs, evening things out. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pressing those arms down all the way around to Namaste in front. And let's come over. Big inhale up. And exhale, diving over. And then concave back, and let's bend the knees and we'll Utkatasana. So now we're doing our Utkatasana, holding our invisible block in front. Those two long parallel sides. And we'll twist to the right. Wide arms, pulling long fingertip to fingertip. And then bringing that right hand around to the left, hands to Namaste. And Namaste in front, reaching forward once again, sitting back a little more. And we'll twist to the left, wide arms. And bringing that left hand around to meet the right. And back to the center. Reaching long and forward. And then releasing over. Concave back, halfway up, folding over, making our way back to downward facing dog through the vinyasa or not. Or 2 or 3 vinyasas. And here we are. Let's lift that right leg up, reaching long through the heel, through to the lunge. Warrior number one, grounding that left heel down, coming up. The front to back lunge. And then bending the left elbow, putting the left hand as much on the center back or on the left shoulder blade as you can, getting hold of that elbow. So think two vertical sides for a moment, and then a little pulling over to the right. Back up, extend both arms up overhead again. Deep breath, and then reaching down. Stepping back, vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And we'll do that on the left. And let's lift our left leg up. And through to the lunge. Grounding the back heel down, coming up in the warrior number one. Holding that lunge long and low. And then we'll bend the right arm and to the center back or maybe a little toward the right shoulder blade, getting hold of that elbow. Taking a few breaths here, two vertical sides. And then a little side bendiness to the left. And then extending both arms back up overhead. And come down, stepping back, vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up, reaching the left heel down. Bend that right knee dog at the high fire hydrant. And through to the lunge, turning to the elephant rider. Feet on the oops, don't tip yourself backwards there. Feet on the diagonal, pressing the arms back, but not too much. Tucking the tailbone a little forward. Oh, and maybe a little squingy. All right, and then pressing into those feet, coming up to the three-pointed star. And pressing the arms down, turning the feet to parallel. And we will rotate out that right leg. And into the warrior number two. Make sure that right knee is tracking over the foot. And then we will dancing warrior, bringing that right arm up, anchoring the right sitting bone down. And bend the right elbow, hand to the center back of the right shoulder blade, getting hold of that with the left hand. Deep in the lunge. And then a big reach out to the side angle. So you can stop with the elbow on the knee, maybe going lower. Press the hips a little lower as well. And then really reaching through that left arm. So maybe you're just going to have an imaginary right arm there holding your invisible block with that left at the top. Or maybe you can actually reach that right arm forward. Come up on this enough of a diagonal that you can have strength here and not feel like you're collapsing. And we breathe. I can barely breathe, just to be honest. And then just release the arms, turning to the wide leg forward now. Ah. And then let's lengthen out and take a twist to the left towards your back leg. Right hand on the floor, reaching up with the left, finding lots of space. So think more up and out at first. And then maybe bending that right elbow, pulling yourself down a little more. Maybe bending that right knee, pressing the shoulders a little more toward the left. And back to the center, taking a few breaths here. And then turning back to the right lunge. Stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa or not downward facing dog. So I'm just going around to the other side. And then we'll do that on the left. All right, here we are, downward facing dog. Let's reach through the left leg, right heel toward the floor, lifting the left leg. And bend the knee, dog at the high fire hydrant. And then through to the lunge, turning to the elephant rider. And then pressing back, but without tipping yourself back. A little squinging, whatever you want to do here. And then pressing the feet into the floor, coming up to the three-pointed star. And pressing the arms down, turning the feet to parallel. And we will rotate the left leg out 90 degrees into the warrior number 2. Making sure that left inner thigh to knee is tracking over the foot as we dancing warrior, side bending away. Anchor that left sitting bone down. And then bending that left arm, trying to reach the hand for the center back and getting hold of that elbow with the right hand. And as you pull there, make sure that lunge is still reaching long and low. And then into the side angle, Ardha-Konasana. Maybe elbow on the knee. Maybe going lower. And as we're reaching along with that right arm, think about holding an invisible block, two long parallel sides. Maybe you're just going to think about it, maybe bringing that left arm up. Try to find an angle you can hold here. An angle where you can breathe, or at least try to. Can we get one more breath here? And then letting that go. Turn into the wide leg forward bend. And then lengthening that out. Now we'll twist to the right toward the back leg. Left hand on the floor, reaching up with the right. Making lots of space at first. Then maybe try to pull that left shoulder down a little more. Bend the left knee, pressing that left shoulder more toward the right leg. And coming back to the center. And then turning back to the left lunge. Stepping back through the vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And taking a few breaths here in the best downward facing dog of this moment. And then coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then let's slide forward onto our stomach, into that Sphinx. Moving forward, lengthening out along the floor, reaching back through the toes. And feeling that bridge posing into the floor as we take a bend of the knees, reaching the upper back toward the heels, lengthening and flattening the front of the hip joints even more. Straighten the legs out. Maybe there's a little more lift in the upper body, elbows coming off. And coming down. All right, let's hold our invisible blocks some more. And so we will interlock the fingers behind, rolling the shoulders out. Reaching long through the top of the head, through the legs, and then lengthen to lift, Salabhasana. Slowly release the hands, and then we're going to hold the block, palms together, rather than palms to the ceiling, which is the traditional Salabhasana form. And then reach the arms wide and forward, holding the block in front of you. Reach a little longer, coming down. And then we're going to lift up once again, starting with the arms in front. Lengthen out, lift up, holding your invisible block in front. And then reaching wide and behind, holding your invisible block behind. And coming down. And let's peel ourselves up off the floor. And bringing those legs out in front, Dandasana. And let's take a short forward bend here. If you want to grab the belt quickly, you could, but we're not going to be here long. Great. And we'll bend our right leg again. And crossing the right foot over. Reaching long and flat through the left. Long through the top of the head. And then reaching out with the left arm, bringing that left arm up and bending the elbow. So it's the left arm. And then getting hold of that left arm with the right, long through the top of the head. Two parallel sides. And then really anchoring that right foot down there as we take a little pull to the right. Back up, release the arms into a twist to the right. And back to the center, we'll do that same thing on the left. Bending the left leg, crossing the left foot over, reaching long through the right heel, left foot into the floor, long through the top of the head. And then bringing the right arm up, bending the elbow. Left arm gets hold of that elbow. Two parallel sides to start, really reaching through the legs. So the more you reach through both feet and press the back of the right leg down, the left foot down, the more that spine will lift. And then even more pressing into your left foot as we take a side bending toward the left. And calming up, release the arms into a twist to the left. And back to the center. Extend that left leg out. Have your belt nearby. Let's roll ourselves down to the floor. Oh. And then reaching a little through the legs, or maybe a lot if you want to be a little bit more active. Reaching along through the top of the head, and we'll bend that right leg in, pulling the thigh in, reaching long through the left along the floor. And then right foot into the belt, extending that right leg up. Breathing long through both heels with a little more energy or a little less energy, depending on how you're feeling now at the end of class. And then belt into the right hand, bringing that leg out to the diagonal. So you can work to anchor the left hip, or if you want to be more easeful, just kind of let yourself roll, maybe that right leg land on the floor. Balancing your effort and ease. Even if you're being easeful, keep sending that breath through the body. Bring that right leg up, pass off to the left, right arm out to the side, taking the right leg across. Here too, you can reach a little more or be a little bit more easeful. You can even sort of let the legs bend a little if you like. Let go of the belt. And breathing. And then we will make our way back to the center, extending that right leg, and going on the left. So bending the left leg in, taking a few breaths, really flattening down the front of the right hip joint. And then belt around the left foot, extending that left leg up, reaching long through the right leg along the floor. See how much energy you want to use here or have left to use. And belt into the left hand, bringing that leg out to the diagonal side. Maybe a little more reaching and anchoring the right hip. Maybe just sort of letting it go into the floor. And continue breathing. That's the constant. And then bringing that leg up, pass off to the right hand, left arm out to the side, bringing that left leg across to the right. And you can reach a little bit more, or maybe just rolling and letting that left leg land on the floor. You sort of let things bend or soften. Inhale and exhale. And then making your way back to the center and into Shavasana. Back to the hands on the floor, choosing your arm position. Maybe since we were holding the belt, it might feel good to have the arms overhead, but you want to make sure you don't kind of feel suspended and squinged there. If you're bringing them overhead, let the elbows bend enough, maybe all the way to a cactus arm, that you can really feel the weight of the arms into the floor and that feeling of letting go. Inhale and exhale. Every breath sinking you in a little more. And then breathing back into your body, into this room, moving fingers and toes. Maybe a little circling of the wrists and ankles. And then knees. And making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with the long and spine. Taking a few more moments. Sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.